Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the ScaleSmart AI Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Luiz Batalha. He's the president of UpStay, a hospitality company that manages nearly $1 billion worth of hotels, vacation rentals, and short-term rental properties across more than 12 cities in North America. UpStay has over 200 employees, a rapidly growing footprint, and is known for combining beautifully designed stays with operational excellence. Luiz has scaled the business into one of the top tech forward operators in the industry, already using AI across guest communications, pricing, and internal workflows. We're going to dig into how he built UpStay, how he runs a portfolio at this scale, and how AI is changing the future of hospitality. Luiz, thanks for joining me.
Of course, Daniel, thanks so much for having me. Really excited to dive in.
Sweet. Yeah. And I guess to get us started, Luiz, you've scaled UpStay into one of the largest short-term rental operators in North America. Could you please share a little bit about the story of how you started the company?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really appreciate the intro. And again, thanks for having me on. Quick intro myself and my business partner, Andrew. So we actually started this company for ourselves. We had investments, long-term rental investments. And back in 2015, 2016, we decided to try this out. Like Booking.com and Airbnb started becoming, a buzz and people started, talking about it. So we decided to pull out one unit and put it on the short-term rental market. And what happened was in 6 months, we made more money net of all the expenses, net of all the fees, than we did long-term renting. So for us, it was like, okay, well, let's convert all 10 of our units from long-term to short-term. And that was really the genesis of UpStay. That's how we started. And we slowly started, having friends and families joining us, and then we started opening up to third-party clients.
Nice. Yeah, it's an incredible story. And I guess for you, I know you mentioned you were an entrepreneur in the past as well. When did you start, down the entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually started like back when I was like 13. Back when I was in like grade school, middle school, I used to sell I used to buy stuff on eBay in bulk and sell them to my friends. I went to a private school, so I had rich friends, and like their parents would give them a lot of money for lunch allowance, and I would just sell individual things that I'd buy off eBay, like magnets and random stuff like that. And then by the age of 17, my mom kind of knew I had this entrepreneurial kind of spirit, so she gave me and my brother a suitcase full of cash and sent me off to Dubai. And that was really where I had my first real entrepreneurial experience, where I had to literally start a branch of her company. She had a staffing firm in Orlando, Florida. She had about 1,000 employees, housekeepers that she would outsource to hotels in Disney World and Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. So she basically said, "Hey, you always want to be an entrepreneur. Take this suitcase and go start a branch of this company, this staffing firm in Dubai." So my brother and I went there in the summer of 2007, 2008, I think it was. And we basically, just landed there. So I had to get work permits and work visas and an office and start hiring people. That was kind of my very first experience of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. By the time I was 19, we sold that company. So I started at 17, 19, at 19 years old, we sold the company, moved to San Diego, where I had to do a little thing called college, which I wasn't a fan of, but I had to go and, get my 4 years in. Did 4 years of college at San Diego. And throughout when I was living in San Diego, I had started different companies, from a house painting company where we were painting houses to affiliate marketing, where I started doing marketing for affiliate products online. And then that kind of later led me into doing kind of sales and marketing consulting for companies and businesses. And long story short, I ended up doing consulting for a guy who was doing Turo. Back in the day, it wasn't even called Turo; it was called Get Around. And this guy was like, he's like, hey, there's an app, and you put your car in the app. And I gained a lot of interest in it, and I ended up, helping him out, promoting his cars. And then I actually also got my cars and started doing this whole Turo business and renting out cars, which led me to meet my current business partner, Andrew, where he was also doing car rentals using Turo. And we were both what they call all-star hosts. Turo flew us out to their headquarters or an office in Sacramento, and met my current business partner, Andrew, where we were going to scale out an entire, rental car industry and have a whole bunch of cars on the Turo app, from Southern California to up to LA. And somewhere along the way, we decided, what, instead of doing this with cars, why don't we do this with houses? Homes are, they don't depreciate. They actually, gain they appreciate. So we're like, let's take this business model and translate it to houses, which is where we kind of shifted to short-term rentals, Airbnb, Booking.com, using those different websites, and kind of the rest is history. Now we're 450 properties strong, 12 plus different cities, and a little bit over a couple hundred, almost a couple hundred employees now.
Nice. That's an incredible story. Wow. How did you like Dubai?
At the time, I loved it. I was like 18 at the time, so I was like, loving life. Everything was kind of up and coming there. There was a lot of development. There was a lot of money to be made. Back then, it was like kind of the wild, wild west, and so I really really plugged in and was into the whole lifestyle, going out at night, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. Ended up when I was 19, my brother was like, "Hey, I need you to go to college, do the whole 4-year thing, and come back." And when I went to San Diego, I realized that that lifestyle of like the crazy, it was all about rich and famous and cars and all these things. And so when I arrived in San Diego, I started realizing that I wanted to have more of a kickback, chill lifestyle, because Dubai is very much like, let's go, 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 go. And so there's pros and cons for sure, but it was a good experience. I've been back twice. I lived there again in 2013. So 2013, I went back and I lived there for a year. And so yeah, I love it. My family and I go to visit all the time. Just probably wouldn't be a place I'd live there again. I have a family now. I got a 9-year-old daughter. I like to be somewhere kind of chill.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing your story. It's definitely an incredible one, Louise, and hats off to you for everything you've been able to accomplish in your career, and yeah, all the business growth that you guys have accomplished too,
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
for sure. And so, how many customers do you guys have now at UpStay?
So we manage a little bit over 450 properties, which translates to about 200 different investors. Okay, so some investors have multiple properties, some have a building, but it's about 200 different customers. We have two customers, I would say, when you think about the business. We have the homeowners who our business is kind of we have it's spread out differently. So we have some assets and some buildings and homes that we own. We have some that we manage and some that we do lease arbitrage. Okay, so lease arbitrage is we rent out for a fixed amount and then we sublease it and we make a spread. So of the units that we manage for third party clients, it's about 200.
Got it, got it. And then I guess, in which U.S. states and Canadian provinces are you guys operating in?
So yeah, great question. We are in Florida. Florida is our biggest and baddest market for sure. Orlando, Florida, Central Florida. We're in Alabama. We're in Texas. A little bit of a presence in Colorado, and I think in U.S. that's it. And then Canada, we're in Kitchener, Calgary, Toronto, and I believe that's it.
Got it.
And then we're in Costa Rica as well, and we have a unit in Cyprus. We have some one-offs. Randomly we always have these clients who have like these one units. Hey, I have one unit in Cyprus. Can you manage that for us? Or I have one unit in a random, state. And like, since we're already clients with them here, and it's easy for us to turn on or turn off the plug, and really in any geography around the world, we end up, helping these clients out managing, these units that wherever they might have them.
Got it. Got it. And I know you guys are expanding in Canada. Could you tell us a little bit more about that expansion?
Yeah, for sure. So my partner's actually heading this really cool project that we've been focusing on lately, which is basically, buying these commercial assets, these commercial buildings, and renovating them and turning them into hotels. So we have had one successful one already off McCall Street. If those familiar in Toronto area, it's a very nice area next to the university. We have a second one we're working on right now, kind of retrofitting and renovating it. And we have a third one that we're actually acquiring and starting the process, the permitting and all that stuff right now. So it's been exciting. The numbers and the returns have been better than any market we've ever been in before. It's probably a lot heavily due to the regulations that's happening in Toronto. You have to have hotel licenses and all these things. So it kicked out a lot of our competition. So now that we're actually going and legally, getting these hotels, getting the hotel licenses and operating, fully above board, the returns have been just amazing.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's a very smart expansion. And managing a portfolio across all these different cities is no small feat. What were the biggest operational challenges that you guys faced as you scaled, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I would say the biggest challenge, it's definitely the human capital. The human labor is finding the right team, the right, because hospitality is very human focused. You got to have that rapport, and so that finding the right team has been the hardest. That's always been the hardest for us. And, the industry in itself isn't rocket science, right? It's not hard to get these units, manage them, put them on these different websites, and do pricing and whatnot, but really the human factor has been the hardest. The way we've been able to kind of overcome it is first of all limiting the amount of geographies, right? So in the beginning, we kind of we were kind of like went all over the place. Hey, there's a unit here, let's take one there, let's take one over here, and that really spread us thin. And we realized quickly that hey, we don't want to just be opening markets just because of one unit. We did it in the past because we were in growth mode, like a growth. Any unit will take. But now that we are, at a much more mature, stage in our company, we're a lot more careful how we expand. So now we expand, very strategically. We're not going to be opening up one unit markets anymore. It's got to be, got to have a nice cluster. Usually around 5 to 10 units is enough for us to be able to go to the unit, go to the market. And myself and my business partner, we usually go to that market, and then we will spend a few months there kind of finding the right maintenance operators, housekeepers, a field supervisor, and things like that. So nowadays we're a lot more careful of how we expand, and that's helped us overcome these challenges of spreading ourselves too thin, not having enough team members in these different markets.
Got it. Yeah. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on the show because obviously, like you said, hospitality is a space where there will always need to be people. And so what's your perspective on AI, right? Like it's obviously changing so many industries across the globe. What's your perspective on it as it pertains to the hospitality sector?
Yeah, at first I was a little hesitant. We were kind of slow to move, but now that we've been seeing it actually in action, I'm in favor of it. My partner's in favor of it. We have quite a few different softwares that are already using AI throughout guest communication, revenue, and different things like that. But yeah, I would say overall I'm in favor of it, and I think the industry in general, they're a little bit more cautious. We have a lot of older gray hairs in the industry who are, very, very much, they don't like implementing new things. But I think the more we see the use cases in action and actually, seeing positive results, the more the industry as a whole is going to be open to using AI in different, the different departments throughout hospitality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I know you mentioned you're already using AI in some of your departments. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Was it a software you were using that just implemented an AI feature? So it wasn't like a whole new thing you had to onboard, or was it a specific problem you faced and you're like, oh, like I wish there was a solution for it. You did research and found an AI specific solution.
Yeah, great question. The first kind of taste of AI we got was ChatGPT. We were seeing a lot of my employees were using it. They're like, "Hey, you guys have to try this out." Like, they were just using it for different task management, things like that, very basic stuff. But then one of our software providers, I believe it was Guesty, started implementing AI into their communication, their guest communication. They're saying, "Hey, we have this new add-on, right? It's an add-on to the service they already have. Do you guys want to try it? It's going to be totally free. You're going to be a beta testing for us, basically." So we said, hey, let's try it out. Like I said, my partner and I are always, we're usually pretty open to trying out new tech and trying to always push the envelope on being kind of first to market. Steve was our first experience with using AI with their communication tools, and I believe they had a chatbot at some point where they would like kind of try to, if a guest had a question, it would talk to the AI agent before escalating it to a human person. So that was kind of our first experience with AI.
Gotcha. And how did the guests typically react to that? Were they typically happy that at least like, even if it was a chatbot, it was at least listening to them or connecting them to the right person, or, were they kind of very against it?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, in the beginning, people were saying that it sounded like robots, right? In the beginning, and now I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen kind of how much AI has advanced, even in the last 6 months, right? So, now ChatGPT has this, like a talking feature. You can talk to it. It's crazy. It feels like you're talking to a real human. But like in the beginning, it felt very robotic, right? Very transactional. And so we did have some guests, complain, hey, am I talking to a robot or am I talking to a human? So And we, that feedback was very valuable for Guesty and these other platforms that were using AI. So they started, I guess, playing with it. And nowadays, I would say it's less noticeable, and guests are more open to it. It's more communicational. There's more emotion behind it. So uh, today, if you were to ask me this question 6 months to a year ago, I would say guests weren't really happy with the way the robots were going back and forth, and it felt very artificial. But nowadays, it's gotten much better, and it's gotten to the point where sometimes guests don't even know they're even talking to a AI chatbot.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. The technology has gotten so much better in just 1 year. Imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
excited.
And on the topic of like guest communications, what's your take on AI voice? I know some guests, are more, they prefer to chat with somebody via, chatbot, or some prefer to call in. What's your take on AI voice for guests specifically?
Yeah, we haven't quite experimented that yet. That's going to be one where it's going to be take a little bit more time for us, and I think really the whole industry, because hospitality as a whole, it's very much of a human to human interaction. The one experience we've had with voice was that we use my AI voice to do voiceovers on our social media videos. Um, you know, uh, Instead of like being me, like saying, because we do some voiceovers with some of our reels and stories, we use an AI voice that sounds like me to do the voiceovers. So that's as much experience as I had with the AI voice, but we've never actually tried, an agent, phone call. All the phone calls, goes to a human agent. They talk to them for now. We'll see. We'll see when we're ready to try that out.
Yeah, no, no, that definitely makes sense. And in terms of the AI voice for guests, do you think that would be an even better way to improve the guest experience? If that AI voice is able to like ask what they need and then they can route them to the right employee, or do you guys already have like 24/7 human support, so the AI voice wouldn't necessarily be needed in this case?
Yeah, I would love to say that we have 24/7 human support, but we don't, and that's actually probably one of the biggest factors that's gonna make us, kind of pull the trigger to try out AI voice, because like there's a lot of times where like people call in and it's just the wait time's too long, or they don't, they call in after hours and they don't get a human on the phone. So that would be kind of a use case where I could see AI voice kind of taking over. It's probably during the after hours. That would probably be the very first place where we would test it out, where there is no one on call, and this AI voice takes over. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I would be excited to try it out. I think that it would maybe even help our it would help our department in terms of ROI. We'd probably be able to have less people on call, and have less reps kind of ready to go if we have this AI the AI voice going. And I would imagine that if it gets to a point where they can start picking up sentiment, they can start picking up emotions behind the guest, and it escalates to the correct person, like to the correct supervisor, effectively and efficiently, it would be something that we'd probably use industry wide.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an incredible technology. I'm definitely very passionate about both chatbots and AI voice, but AI voice in particular, like it's so unique because it's almost like you're talking to a human. And the nice thing is it's multilingual. So, and a lot of employees, myself speaking, don't speak so many languages, right? So if someone calls in, they don't necessarily speak English, they want to speak Spanish, for example, which is I know common in Florida. It's great that the AI voice can like adjust the language. So
Yeah, that is very true. We do deal with a lot of international customers, and one of the reasons why we kind of we don't like the voice as much, because like we don't have people who speak all the languages on call, right? So it's usually just English. But when we're chatting with them, so we do a lot of chatting. So we do like there's a lot of WhatsApp conversations that we have with guests and clients, the guestie as well. And when we do the chatting, it automatically translates to the language of the guest, per se.
mhm.
That's a very interesting point, and would probably, I'd be more likely to want to test that out with having different languages, on the spot, right? Like the AI, I guess, can translate, immediately, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then like to our earlier discussion, like the technology is evolving so quickly that like a year ago, AI voice was not nearly as good as it is now, and it was quite difficult to build these agents. But now, there's so many great tools where you can build them. In terms of using AI in your business, I know you also mentioned you're using it in your pricing models. Can you tell us more about that and how that looks like?
Yeah, so this was also another one of the software providers that we use. We use Price Labs, and they just kind of bolted on AI to their kind of algorithm and thought algorithm that they have for pricing. So we don't really have. I mean, we saw an increase in ADR, so the ADRs kind of went up a little bit. There's different strategies. You can either be price forward or occupancy forward strategy. So like depending on how you set the software up, the AI would work its thing to have better pricing models. So yeah, that was one. So once Price Labs kind of announced, hey, we're actually using artificial intelligence now to better predict pricing and demands and market and this and that. We did start seeing some better results from a revenue perspective for sure.
Hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, and I guess even with tech and automation, hospitality is still very operationally heavy. What are the most repetitive or time-consuming processes that you wish AI could kind of take off your team's plate next?
Ooh, that's a great question. Honestly, I would say if AI could take over like kind of our P&Ls and owner statements, because we have to do that every month and it's a very manual process. If AI can just fully take that over and kind of like, take my brain and my partner's brain and put it into an AI and it can know exactly how we want to build it, how we want to build out these owner statements, that would be ultimate for us. Like we would that would save up so much time.
Yeah, that would definitely be awesome. Have you heard of anything that could potentially solve that?
Uh, I've heard of some companies, like some property management companies, who have tried to build their little software that like plugs into QuickBooks and like has macros and things in place where like pull expenses, pull revenue, and kind of like spit out the owner statements, but nothing that's just been like promising.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Well, and I guess speaking on the owner side, I know we talked a lot about the actual guests, but when it comes to owner communication, how does that typically look like? Do they reach out to a property manager or to someone else on the team, or is it also partly automated with chatbots?
Yeah, we have a whole owners relation department that deals with kind of owner requests and things like that. And lately, we actually switched over to a software that uses AI to kind of to filter out these requests. So in the past, they used to be owners would reach out. A lot of them WhatsApp. WhatsApp is like our number one platform where owners like to reach out to us. It's WhatsApp and email. So they'll reach out to us for they have a point of contact. Each owner has their own point of contact, so they will reach out their point of contact, their property manager to get questions about the properties, question about the performance, reviews, anything like that. And then that agent would then dialogue directly with the homeowner. Now, since we implemented Insightly, that's the CRM kind of software that we're using for owner relations, and we're also using it for guest relations in the future. But um, it's a ticketing system. So an owner would send a request. It'd be like a ticket, and then that ticket would be like read with like an AI would get the sentiment of that request. It would see what the request is, certain SLAs, and then escalate it or either if it has a response already, it would respond automatically. So if it's like a common response, like an owner wants to know, hey, when will my statement be out, or when will my deposit be sent? The AI is supposed to already know, hey, statements get sent out on the 15th, deposits sent out the same day, 2 to 3 business days, kind of the generic response. But anything further than that, it would escalate it to a human. And so far, we've been seeing amazing results. We've actually we had, I think, a 12 people in our department with the owner relations. Since we implemented Insightly, we're down to 10. So 2 people gone just by using the correct software.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I mean, it's an interesting discussion about how AI is there to help businesses and help people become more efficient at their job, more effective at their job. So I 100% agree. I think that it's fantastic to see that you're trying out so many different tools because ultimately you want what's best for your guests, your customers, and the business as a whole, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess guest communications can be very unpredictable, right? Like, what types of messages or scenarios are still the hardest for AI to interpret or respond to?
I would say guests, whenever guests unfortunately, we get guests who want to request refunds for whatever reason. They found like, one strand of hair or things like that. So whenever guests are, getting very specific into, whatever issue it might be, and they want to have like a resolution in return. Anytime there's like a resolution they want, whether they're asking for a partial refund on the pool fees or the cleaning fees or whatever crazy requests these guests come up with. I mean, the other day, there was a request that a guest said that there was a piece of tile sticking out, which I don't know how tile can stick out, but there's a piece of tile sticking out, and she felt like it was a hazard, and so she wants to talk to somebody. So like, there's these different type of scenarios that like the AI just it's just not trained for yet, and or if it is, it knows, hey, okay, this is a very specific request. It needs to be escalated to a supervisor so they can talk to the guest and come up with a resolution. So I think those type of requests are the ones that AI is still having a little bit of trouble, kind of dealing with on themselves.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can imagine. My cousin, she does some short term rentals, and she's definitely told me some crazy stories of guests saying a lot of different stuff.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy, man. They come up with these crazy stories, and just to get a buck or two off their booking, it is what it is. It's our industry.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And short-term rentals and hotels are adopting AI at very different speeds. Why do you think the hospitality industry has been a little bit slower to fully embrace AI?
I would say it's because hospitality is so focused on the human to human interaction, right? They're so focused on making sure that the guests meet the guests' needs are not just met but exceeded, and it's very like they everything's based on reviews, right? So you got to make sure that the guests had a great experience. I think the industry as a whole is just a lot slower to adopt because they are kind of cautious, right? And likely, very, very, very much like us, we were cautious in the beginning of, how will guests interact with an AI chatbot? Oh, okay, well, it didn't work at first, but now it's getting better. How will guests interact with an AI voice? So, because any little decision you make in our industry that deals with human interaction can make a huge difference in revenue. I think that's why most of the hospitality industry is more reluctant or just kind of more cautious when adopting new AI technologies. I think at the end of the day, once AI technologies are proven and it works, like it's going to be good for the industry and better for the industry. But I think it's just a matter of time until early adopters and people are more willing to try them out.
Hmm. Absolutely. And looking ahead, 1 year and 3 years down the line, where do you think AI will make the biggest dent in hospitality? I guess if we could start off with 1 year, and then you
I
mentioned three.
think I think it's going to be biggest in hospitality. I would say in the concierge services. Honestly, right now, a big gap and a big hole that at least we're facing, and I know a lot of other operators are facing, is being able to offer concierge services and recommendations, things like that. So I think if implemented correctly, and if AI starts evolving the way it already is, if there could be like an AI concierge QR code, right? That would be huge. Like right now, like you go to a hotel, you can go downstairs to the concierge desk and ask them whatever you want. Hey, hotel recommend or restaurant recommendations, reservations, what to do around town. We don't have that in short-term rentals, right? There's no concierge desk. There are some apps and some softwares that's been trying to do something similar, where like a guest will check in and then they'll receive an email with like recommendations and a city guide and things like that. But it hasn't. It's not very sophisticated. But yeah, if we can, if we can solve the like a concierge, have a concierge, software or platform that is AI, that would be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. And would it be like an app in an ideal way where they like shows these are all the like outdoor activities near you. These are like the events happening, like concerts or some shows. Or would it be like an AI voice that they call and be like, "Hey, I'm in town for 3 days. give me some ideas of what fun things to do. And then the AI voice would say,
Yeah.
great, glad you're here. Like, here's all the fun things we can do.
I'm almost thinking like a little speaker, an Alexa speaker or an AI speaker like that we leave in every house, and then that speaker is their concierge. They can talk to the concierge like, "Hey, what's up, concierge? I'm in town for 3 days. Give me an itinerary what I should do here." In my head, that's what I'm thinking would be like the best use case, because sometimes people are reluctant to download another app, or they don't see the emails that come in with the city guides, right? So like if they have a physical speaker, a physical product there, or a microphone, whatever it might be that they can interact with, it's almost like having your own personal butler there, right? Instead of a human, you have or maybe it's the Tesla's a robot. You have like a robot in the house just waiting to talk to you. I don't know, but that could be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, who knows? We'll have robots in every house.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea. No, I think that for sure. I mean, like the Alexa or Google Home kind of style, where it's just they're talking to you, giving you some advice on what to do, or even like if they have any questions about the unit, right? Um,
Exactly. Yeah. Specific unit questions. Yeah. Honestly, like now the more I think about it, like AI is probably already at a point there where it could probably like already have like a little, butler, right? A little concierge, but it's all about just having the right, questions and prompts and all these things, and obviously train it to know, different units and the different intricacies of the units, Wi-Fi passwords, that would be huge, and things like that.
absolutely, absolutely. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, Louise, it's been such an incredible conversation, and curious, what's the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
Yeah, best way would be either email or LinkedIn. My first and last name, Luiz Batalha, on LinkedIn, or Luis at upstay.com. Best two ways to reach out to me if you have any questions, want to just chat about. I love this industry. I'm passionate about it. So if anybody just wants to chat about short-term rentals, hospitality in general, I'm all for it.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your story. It's definitely an incredible one. And best of luck with everything that you guys got going on at UpStay.
I appreciate it, Daniel. Thanks so much for having me on the show, and best of luck to you and your podcast, man.
Thank you so much.